Welcome to After 5 Radio, in conversation with. Each week we are in conversation with our artists in the diaspora.
RADIO. After 5 Radio.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to After 5 Radio, your favorite online radio station, showcasing Zimbabweans in the diaspora. I am your host, aka the hype lady, Miss ThandoAmy, coming to you live all the way from Canada. And joining me today, guys, this is quite exciting. Joining me today are certified marriage mentors and marriage coaches behind the Marriage Advocates Canada, Mr. Help me, be patient with me here, Mr. Ifechukwude.
Awesome job. That's good.
Yes. And Dr. Damilola. Damilola, I've heard that name before, trust me. And Dr. Damilola Adinkupu. Did I get that right?
Awesome job. Yeah, you did well.
Yes. And I think people are wondering, okay, but you said Zimbabweans in the diaspora, and then these people sound Nigerian. But before we get into that, I'm going to say welcome, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyway, as we get into our interview, mind bringing our listeners up to speed with a little bit about you guys. Mm-hmm. We say this is, we celebrate Zimbabweans in the diaspora, but then right now we're hanging out with you guys. How and why?
Why? Why are you hanging out with us?
How? Okay. I will say the how, and you can say the why.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, how? My mom is from Zimbabwe. She's from Bulawayo, and I schooled there. I did my primary school there. My brothers, that was in Blackstone Primary School. My brothers did in their secondary school in Prince Edward, and my sisters did their own secondary school in Melbourne Girls High. So we lived in Highfields with my grandparents. Yep.
Oh my God. I didn't know that part. I didn't know that part. I was hoping you're going to start with my middle name is Tulani as well.
Yeah. My middle name is Tulani. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Blackiston, Melbourne, Prince Edward. Okay, go ahead.
And my mom met a Nigerian, and she fell in love with a Nigerian, and that's where the story goes.
I guess so. So yeah.
Yep. And the why?
It.
Well, the why? I'm just gonna say we're claiming Zimbabweans as well, so we're just gonna claim that. 50%. We just like that. We're claiming, so that's the why. What kind of
No, I like that. This is so awesome. So you've been together as a couple, for over 20 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yep.
With 12 years of marriage experience.
He had hair back then. He kind of lost his hair.
Oh, he had hair back then, and you had to embrace the boldness too. So with that being said, tell us the secret to holding up a marriage for this long. Even just, coming from Africa, were you married in Africa or you got married here in Canada?
We got married in the UK, and we were blessed, I would say. We were blessed to have a community, and it's a church community that when we got into the church, when we got married, that was the first time where we saw what a healthy marriage was all about. We had never seen that before in our lives. So when we went to the church, we saw what a healthy marriage was all about. We had to tap into that. We had to walk because we knew that we had children that were coming and they will be watching what we're doing. And it's just about our legacy.
Absolutely.
And also, so with that being said, having to aspire to have a healthy relationship, it doesn't come easy because you don't know what you're getting yourselves into until you're in it. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
So how then, in saying this is what we want, how was your background to start off, as in your family background, as your childhood? Because sometimes how childhood affects how we get into relationships eventually.
Yep.
Absolutely. I think I'll speak to that because you made a comment of you don't know what you're getting into. I think for us was a little different. We did it for quite a while.
Yep. 8
So
years.
we did it for 8 years before we got married, hence why we've been together over 20 years, but we've been married 12. So we kind of got to know each other well before we got into marriage. And we were fortunate to have that kind of friendship where we knew a lot about each other and each other's background before we even got into marriage at all. So we kind of knew the things that could be the tripping points based on our background, because you touched on what is our background. So we knew a lot of that. We both unfortunately come from broken homes,
Yeah.
I guess, with a lot of background and a lot of baggages. So we were aware of some of those even before we got into marriage, which was why when we were fortunate in that literally first week of our marriage, to find ourselves invited into this church community where we then saw examples of healthy marriages, we compared it to our experience and we're like, okay, this is different. And we kind of like this different. We like what different looked like compared to our background. And we're just kind of jumped right in and with an open heart, ready to learn. I think one of the things that I would say we're both fortunate about is that we both have this kind of been wanting to learn. Like we were willing to learn and grow. And we just dove right in. Like, teach me all you got.
Okay, so also with that being said, that's actually a beautiful story to say, you know what, we had known each other for 8 years and talk about relationships back then and relationships now, right? How then do you, and you also said you came from broken homes, but then you made decisions to say this is what we want and this is what we're looking for. So how about if what do you make as relationship coaches or marriage coaches of relationships that have been there or that have been there for 8 years similar but already toxic? How, before you even get married, how then do people decide this is what we're still going to do, but it's fear of being alone because we've been together for the longest we've been? Now we see that because of social media and pressure, right? So how do people then decide this is how we want to go, or how successful is this going to be?
I think it is absolutely important that if it's already toxic during the dating years, that you don't go ahead and get married. And if we share a bit of our story, we almost didn't make it past those 8 years of dating. Like, because we had a lot of baggages, we had a lot of backgrounds, and we had a lot of mindsets that thankfully we recognized in each other prior to marriage, such that we had a period when we actually broke up and we were like, okay,
Which is normal really in a relationship.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes you need to kind of call the nonsense and just kind of pull each other up to a higher standard. So yes, we did break up because there was kind of mindsets, and I will address mine and my husband can address his own. So because of my home of origin experiences, I had certain mindsets that is borderline, just not even borderline, it was dysfunctional. So I had this mindset of, because of what I had seen a lot of abuse. And I had then decided in myself that no man was ever going to be able to abuse me, either financially, physically, spiritually, verbally. This just wasn't going to ever happen. So then I built this wall around myself where it was this constant reminding my boyfriend at the time that, listen, I can do life and I can do it good without you. Like, it's this I'm fine and I know it. I'm clever and I know it. I'm strong. Like, I can take you on. I had built this kind of things around myself as a protection. And I let him know it at every chance that I got, to reinforce the whole idea of, you can't hurt me because I might get one up on you before you even try. And you can imagine that wears up on a person. It wears a person out, a person who loves you, who you're consistently reminding that they may never be good enough because you're going to try and be better than them at every step of the way because you don't want to get hurt. So after a while, he called my bull. He called my nonsense. Like, no one's getting married on this kind of nonsense.
We like that.
Oh yeah, he called my nonsense. Like, no, because I had this crazy that I used to do, and I admit to my crazy. Every anniversary, like a week leading on to my anniversary, I will give him a get out of jail free card. And I would be like, now listen, girl, oh yeah, for 8 years I did that. For 8 years.
I'm taking notes.
For 8 years, this is what you should not do, by the way. Ladies, don't do this.
Whoa. Ladies, pay attention.
It takes a man who really loves you, who really sees what you can build together to put up with that kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
Because telling a man for a week before your kind of dating anniversary, like, listen, do you still want to do this or not? Because look, I'll be fine with or without you. This is the attitude. Like, look, I'll be fine with or without you. I know I'm going to get my PhD at the time. I know I can make money. I can find a fine boy. I'm fine myself. So really, I'm not going to struggle to kind of find a replacement for you type attitude. Like, I'm good and I know it type thing. So do you still want to do this or not? That's literally the attitude. Like, imagine doing that to
for you if no, you made
a
it.
lot of guys are dealing with this though. A lot of stories. So I am not unique.
Right.
There are a lot of women out there who, because of their experiences, have built up a wall almost around their heart. And it's a coping mechanism, it's a coping strategy to let men know that I'm good, I'm clever, I'm fine. So listen, don't even try. We set up this stuff in place as a way to protect ourselves.
Absolutely.
But ultimately, it really doesn't build a healthy relationship because what you're saying to the other person is, listen, I'm better than you. So if you want to stick around, stick around. If you want, if you don't want, then you can be gone. Like, you just don't, you're not giving them the value that they have already. You're almost devaluing a person by having that behavior. So he called my nonsense. And he was like, no, I can't marry you like this. You're going to need to go fix up.
But for you to be having that protective, mechanism, was he not consistent? Because keep in mind, men back then were a bit more consistent compared to now. More consistent, I would like to think. Oh,
really? No, I'm like, we need to learn about men back now because back then, because I'm confused.
Right now they're no longer that consistent. They don't make efforts. Trust me, like it's a sad dating. But that's why I was like, this is something that's going to be beneficial as well to single couples, because we're gonna get into situations where you eventually migrated, and I mean, like you've seen people who've migrated almost getting into divorce, but then that on its own is discouraging single people. Do you understand? Because of what's happening around. So I was like, no, we're going to have to sit down. This is not about just a marriage couple. And I hope this will actually give you an idea to even expand with the singles as well within your organization, because it is actually a pandemic, if you didn't know.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And I think the first time I met Ife, I was telling Ife, I was like, you know what? This is quite encouraging, you guys, what you're doing, because because people are divorcing, the divorce rate is going up.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's going up.
It
It is crazy, yeah.
It's crazy.
Right. And also having to see that you were, having this protective shield and having somebody who's as patient as your husband now, we hope there's some men who eventually decide, okay, I need to learn to be consistent. I want to be that old school type of man, because they're not patient anymore. And also, I'm educated, I'm this, I have my stuff. Exactly what you're saying. I have my stuff together, so bye. It goes both ways. They're both toxic.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. It's toxic. It's not healthy at all.
Right.
You asked if he was consistent? He was consistent. That was now that I look back at my brokenness, the kind of healed version of myself now, and I feel so bad for him. I mean, we've walked through the pain I caused.
But I was, yes, you can say consistent. But I would say it was more the love that was carrying it, until I got to the stage I knew that, okay, that if I have to marry this one, I'm going to end up in divorce. So something had to, We had to do something.
Yeah.
Yes, I jumped into that decision of a lifetime because I was already seeing red lights. Yeah, flags there. It was just too obvious for me. So that is why
they were not orange.
no, they were red, flashing.
Red.
How people want to paint a red flag orange and they're like,
No,
no.
even the orange flag,
No,
pay full
it's-
attention to
because
that.
when you have a red flag, it's saying, hey, pay attention to this, because whatever you don't pay attention to, you're gonna face in marriage.
Absolutely.
You can't escape it. Marriage is something that you have to go through the process. So if you don't go through the process when you're both single, you will go through the process when you're married. Yes.
Right.
You can't jump it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. This is interesting. And there's a whole lot more coming out of these questions. You were asking me, oh, yeah, do we have any questions? No, you're giving me questions right now. But, as we move along, getting into, okay, why then the marriage advocate? So what then brought about, the birth of the Marriage Advocates Canada? Because you started off in the UK and then how long were you in the UK for, by the way? Sorry, after you
14.
even got married?
After we got married, it was like 3-4 years.
3-4 years.
Yeah, then we left. Yeah.
And then Canada.
We went to Sweden. We were there for 3 years. Yeah, and we came to Canada.
Right.
In 2017, yeah.
2017. So you were in England, you're in Sweden. And so what then, with those countries that you've been in, you could have actually started the not-for-profit, but why in Canada? Why now?
Well, I would say in life, there's time, there's seasons for things. So for example, in 2020, the pandemic started. And that was the time that my wife had a dream, and she now said, what was the dream about?
So how and why the Marriage Advocates Canada? This was not something we planned at all.
No.
It was not something that we thought. We had our careers, we had our jobs. It wasn't something that was planned.
Right.
But there was a day in 2020, I woke up remembering just a dream I had had. And I told my husband what kind of how I saw this dream as interpreted as I understood it. So we're people of faith, so we're Christians. So what I understood from the dream was God saying, everything He's walked us through, our experiences from way back from our home of origins and how we had learned through our journey. At that time, we had been married 9 years. We should share it honestly and openly in order to inspire or motivate someone else. It was just a share your life kind of honestly and openly. I don't know, for those who are Christian, it would be we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimonies. And it's just share your life honestly and openly. So I told my husband, I had this dream. It's weird, but this is kind of what I understand the Lord was saying. Like, just teach, motivate, inspire with everything that I've walked you through. And then he was like,
I said, okay, don't worry. I'll help you, but you do it with God. Both of you, you do it with God. No, you, not me.
You don't want to be a part of it.
I didn't. I just felt that time, where we come from. We're just 9 years into marriage, and where we come from, you start helping people at that time. They were saying, who are you? What do you know?
Like, oh, what do you know about marriage now?
Thank you. And I didn't want that in my life. That I didn't want that, but as we know with God, He will walk you at where you are. So He will just say, okay, slowly I will keep pushing you. And we started YouTube that time, and my wife was doing the YouTube. I will set up everything, I'll do everything with her. He
was like my producer.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So that's how it was, and we continued, and slowly God started like pushing me, and I started doing YouTube with her, and I was enjoying it. And next minute we started Instagram, and before then we were never social media people.
Right.
2020, we posted the occasional pictures,
and that's it. So we were not social media at all.
Yeah.
But that period, my wife was doing an Instagram family and marriage, just like that. But it wasn't really, she would do the reels and just go on. But it got to a point I said, okay, if we're going to do this thing together, I want to focus on marriage. That's what I'm passionate about. You know, I want to focus. That's where my passion is. Not about just family and marriage. I'm not into that. I want to just
Because
focus.
the Holy Spirit was now working in you.
It was gradual.
Yeah, it was gradual. It was gradual.
Gradual.
And I was looking for a job. That period, I was looking for a job. And it got to our last born. We were praying that he gets to daycare with his sister in that September in 2022. So, like every other prayer around me was being answered, apart from me getting a job.
A different job.
Trying
to
yes. Every other, even the one that looked impossible, and that was my son getting into daycare with the sister, because it was full, and all of them like the same age group. So we said, okay. She said it's not possible for him to get. We said, okay, no problem. You do yours, we do ours. We started praying, and when we started praying, lo and behold, we called in May, and she now said, "Oh yes, there's space for him," and blah blah. We now said, "What? What?" Then I said, "Okay, God, I thank you." Then I went to my knees. I started saying, "Okay, God, I give up. What do you want me to do? I do it.
Yeah.
Show me. I will follow your way. You know, because this job you're not giving me.
2 years.
Even to the extent I almost got a job.
Right.
It didn't happen.
So pause right there. Pause right there. And then we already had a doctor in the house. No, we're going to be touching on those issues because that is right. Because eventually you're saying we have issues where men cannot cope coming from Africa, and then women bettering themselves, right? And hence the reason why we have all these issues. But anyway, that's where I was going.
They so like men who cannot handle their wives stepping into all that God has deposited in her, they need to work on their issues. Clearly, there is a lot of brokenness there where you cannot let a woman be all that God has called her to be. I am so grateful because I really wouldn't have my PhD if it wasn't for my husband.
Nice.
Because all of those days we were still dating, and all of the days that I was doing my PhD and I would be in the lab analyzing data, writing stuff, the man was right beside me, literally beside me on the next room. He would be watching his football, but he was right there. All the night shifts that I pulled, he was right. Literally, that PhD should have been split in half. Like, for real, if it was possible.
No, but it's paying off right now because
it's paying up. Like, so no, those men need to work out their issues. Like,
right. And so since you didn't get intimidated by having a doctor within the household, you continued to look for a job, and then what happened?
Well, when I already had a job, I was just looking for another job.
Kind of a step up.
Yes, a step up.
Yeah.
But when I now noticed, and I said, okay, God, hands up. What do you want me to do? I'll do.
2 years of nothing.
2 years. Then my wife then now said, okay, you go pray, you come back and tell me what you want to do, what you're passionate about. Don't think about anything but what you are passionate about. And come and meet me and I would support you. So I went, and in less than 24 hours, I came back to her. I said, okay, I'm passionate about marriage. I want to see marriages thrive. That's what I've been, because even way before I got married, I would have friends that would come and meet me and say, okay, advise me about their relationship. What should I do? And they would say, okay, why don't you go into counseling? But I said, no, I cannot. No, I'm not interested in that. No. So when I told my wife, and I said, okay, I wanted to go into coaching, into counseling. And she said, do you remember what I told you in 2020? And he said, yeah. I said, oh, yeah, I remember. I said, are you ready for it now? She said, yes, I'm ready for it. And that is when we had to rebrand our Instagram. _ the Marriage Advocates. YouTube, the Marriage Advocates, everything, the Marriage Advocates. So you can,
Yeah, like you said it beautifully, love. Like, I think the lesson is that even when you feel like God's saying something to you and giving you a message, don't push your spouse. Like, don't push your spouse. Share the vision and wait for them to be ready to carry the vision along with you. So long you're not becoming an hindrance, if you feel like you want to step up and step into what you believe God is calling you to do. And he wasn't an hindrance, he just wasn't ready yet to carry the weight of the vision fully. But once he was ready, oh my God, That's so good.
Oh, trust me, when I'm watching those Instagram videos, I'm like, okay, who's at the forefront right now? I'm like,
Once it was ready. Once it was ready. You're so good.
right? No, that is awesome. And so, what is the Marriage Advocates all about for people who do not know about it?
Right. Do you want to go?
No, you can go down.
So the Marriage Advocates Canada, the heart behind the Marriage Advocates Canada really is to inspire, motivate, encourage couples to do the work to have a healthy relationship. We say that any couple who is married, any couple who decided to get married, it should be a marriage advocate. You should be a marriage advocate in the sense that if you decide to have kids, you are advocating for those what marriage should look like to those kids. So you are marriage advocates in your own home because those children, like we saw our parents, are gonna look at you and gain an understanding of what love looks like, what marriage looks like, what a good husband or bad husband look like, what a good wife or a bad husband, a bad wife looks like. So every couple who decides to get married is a marriage advocate. You're either a really terrible advocate or you're a great advocate. But whether you like it or not, the minute you decide to have a marriage, you are a marriage advocate. If you choose to not have kids, you're a marriage advocate to our society and our world because people are watching bad marriages and they're gaining what they think is a marriage or what a marriage looks like or bad statistics about marriage is in people. So even if you're married and you are not having kids, you're still advocating to our world, either in a good way or bad way, what marriage looks like. So for us, the Marriage Advocates Canada is this movement where we're just trying to encourage couples to do the work to have a healthy relationship that can thrive. So yeah, everyone who is married should be a marriage advocate. It's just a good one or a bad one.
I like the part where you say to put in the work. The last time I spoke to you, we were saying not a lot of people when they're going through, issues in their marriage are able to put in the work together. One person is making an effort, but not the other. And we're going to get into our, Thriving Relationship book, which does not work on its own.
No.
Which is a good thing, because it has to
You'll be exhausted.
You will be exhausted. But before we get into that, and thank you so much, Dr. Dami, for giving us just a brief, reason why the Marriage Advocate. But I just have a quick question that just came through from one of our guests. I'm sorry I got here a little bit late, but I am loving this. There's two beautiful souls from different cultures. Sir, hold on again. We will get back to that one. Because cultures are a bit, especially if the other is coming from a more cultured and structured upbringing. How did they manage to create the new and beautiful culture?
Good question.
Yeah, I would say that yes, we are both from different cultures. My wife is Yoruba, I'm Igbo, and Shona.
With a Zimbabwean.
Yes. Yeah. So we come from two different upbringings. We're totally different. But we realized that as I said, we're blessed to see what a healthy marriage was all about. And we decided, okay, we want to have that. So we had to, even before we even met the community, we already started putting processes in place to say, okay, these are the things we will bring into our home. It's our home. It's not my parents' home. It's not my parents-in-law's home. It's my family, it's our family. So what do we want to say that, okay, we're going to move forward to ensure that we're going to have that life that we want to have. So both of us need to put things on the table to say, okay, these are the things we're going to do. And it has to do with also trust. Because obviously, where we come from, it's men are not that vulnerable. That's an issue. That's a big issue too. So if you're a guy and you are vulnerable to your spouse, it will be easier. It will be easier. It's about learning the skills, knowing this. Yeah.
So won't it make? Sorry, Dr. Demi. Won't it make the men feel less in any way, because keep in mind, like you're saying, we come from a culture where you have to man up. A man is not supposed to be vulnerable, or else you will feel less of a man. How do we put it out there for the men that it's okay to be human?
It's how you communicate. What's your communication style? Are you aggressive in the way you communicate? Because, for example, if you communicate in an aggressive way, the other person is already on a defensive mode. No matter who you are, they're already defending. So we have to communicate in a more assertive way in saying our feelings. We are all human beings. It's just that because our culture, we don't allow that to say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. We intend to operate. Yes, that feeling, which is wrong. That's not how God made us to suppress that feeling. It's absolutely wrong. Because now, yes, I did that when I was growing up. Yes. But now I'm explaining how I feel to my spouse. It's completely different. It makes me more happy to say, hey, this is how, when you did ABC to me, it made me feel sad. Express your feeling. It's okay. There's no problem. It's both. I'm not bothered about what other people think. I'm bothered about what I'm feeling at that moment between me and my spouse. Nobody else. Yeah. So it's okay. Even if people say, oh, look at her, this guy is too soft. It's okay. You're enjoying your marriage. You're living a good marriage. Trust me, you're living that life that they are watching and wishing they had what you have.
That is so true, and that is powerful.
I think the woman carries a lot of responsibility, because I think what you said.
I think your mic went on mute, but I can unmute it for you. Okay, I think we're trying to do the same job.
I think what we're trying to do at the same time. I think the woman carries a lot of responsibility. The responsibility is that you create a safe space for your husband to be vulnerable, because vulnerability takes a lot of courage. Creating that safe space for him to be vulnerable, so that when he is then vulnerable, you're able to catch him and you're able to support him and you're able to listen. It's not the idea that the
nature is that we were created to be, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But of course, a lot of us, because of the experiences we've had, we've turned out to be a lot tougher than we needed to be, because we feel like we have to be tough to survive. And the men the same. I mean, most of the men that feel like they cannot tap into that vulnerability, you can't really, if you don't become vulnerable. And how are you going to develop intimacy? You can't really develop intimacy if you're not going to be vulnerable with your spouse. We say intimacy is into me, you see. But if you're going to see into someone,
okay, I need to digest that one. Okay. Can you please come again?
So I was saying, for you to build intimacy, which is into me, you see. Like, you need to be vulnerable. You need to be vulnerable, both man and woman. So if you really want someone to really get to know you, to build a life that is got a lot of intimacy in it, then there has to be vulnerability. There is there's no intimacy without vulnerability. There's no vulnerability without courage. So you need to kind of combine these things, where for you to be vulnerable, you need to put up your big boy pants or your big girl pants, so that you're able to face the life you want to build with vulnerability, and where you build intimacy. So it's a work that we have to do together as a couple, where man is willing to lean into vulnerability which takes a lot of courage, and the woman can provide a kind of space, a safe space that man can be vulnerable.
Actually, I was reading a book by Brene Brown a couple of years ago, where it said, because I also I was telling, if I don't know if he told you, that I was advocating for men's mental health 2 years ago, where, like you're saying, men need to be vulnerable. It's okay to be human. That's what I always say. We need to stop this whole, you need to man up, because guess what? This is what's actually not healthy. That's blocking, this whole emotional availability and stuff like that. But the one thing that I noticed, which I felt was so true was when Brene Brown was saying, it's funny how women say, oh yeah, be vulnerable with me, talk to me, communicate, da, 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 da. And when the man decides to do that, you're like, what kind of a man are you? You're not man enough. Men are supposed to, I don't even know. Like, what do you want? Right?
Yeah,
One
absolutely.
minute you ask for this, the next minute you behave the opposite of what you asked for.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
how then do we work around that?
I think it's absolutely important to educate our women. A lot of us, and I'm going to talk to Black women now, a lot of us have had so much experiences that the stereotype of the hungry Black woman. We've had so much experiences that has turned us into the girl I described earlier. That super tough, high achieving type A person that has no grace for nothing, no patience for nothing. And it's just the way we survived, is the way we had to survive. In cultures, if you think of Africa, in cultures where as a woman you're not given your rights freely, you almost have to fight for it. So we're used to fighting. I can speak about Nigeria where I grew up. The girl child is not exactly given the same value as a boy child is given. So we've had to fight probably ever since we were little in order for us to be heard, to be seen. So because we've had to grow up in this kind of tough manner, when a man who is also trying to be tough because society told him he had to be tough. So now we have the girl who's trying to be tough because of a different reason. And we have a man who's trying to be tough because he was told he had to be tough. You put these two things together, and of course, you're going to have explosions because the man does not know how to be vulnerable. The woman does not know how to be gentle. The nurturer in her gets killed along the way because she had to be so strong, so tough, be a fighter and fight for everything. But then the man is also fighting. So we have a fighter with a fighter. It's like, how many fighters in the ring? Like, you're going to ultimately kill each other.
Right.
Because this is how you've had to survive. And the things that we had to do to survive is what's now killing us.
Right.
The kind of aggression that we had to have as women in order to be all that we could be in the cultures that raised us, bring that into a marriage, it's gonna kill that marriage.
Oh yeah. Oh
You,
yeah.
you had to fight for your right, but then you come into a marriage and you're still fighting for your right, it will kill that marriage.
And even I follow what's his name, Danny Morel on Instagram. I don't know if you know him, Danny Morel.
Yeah.
He also talks about a woman being in their feminine energy because there's so many women in masculine energy because of, like you're saying, we want to protect ourselves so much. And some of it, like most of it, from his point of view, stands from background, childhood trauma and stuff, right? Where you're like, no, I am, and keep in mind, like you're saying, you're appealing to the women in like Black women, right? Where culturally back in the day, we had our fathers who used to cheat, and parents stayed in the marriages because, they got married young. They didn't have, it was up to grade 12 or maybe below grade 12. And be, a housewife, compared to now when the mothers have actually decided the girl child, I'm going to educate my girl child because I don't want it to get to, to explain.
Like me.
So it's a cycle that has been created where
Vicious cycle.
It's so vicious to the point that the line has just been crossed way too much.
Absolutely. Like,
okay, how do we unlearn this? How do we, it's become so tough. And like you're saying, it has also pushed men to not be able to be vulnerable because the woman is now like, no, I am an alpha female. What can you do?
Boss lady, I don't like that term one bit.
Oh, trust me, it was nice when we started hearing that until you're like, no, it's not okay.
No.
When you sit down and think about it, you say, no, it's not okay. Society has created this whole, the one thing that actually hurts me the most, though, is where I feel like feminism has been defined in a different way now, or it has been taken the other way more than how it was
it's gone
meant to
too
be.
far.
It's gone too far. And I'm like, okay, women, so what do you want? What do we want? Where are we going? Right. So I don't know. I don't know how that's, fixable either in marriages or just as women. Do we have any comment on that one?
In terms of feminism and how it's gone too far,
Mm-hmm.
is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yes, unfortunately, we
No,
our baby just
Baby
woke up.
cries.
I think feminism as it is now, I'm not even sure even the feminists are clear on what feminism is anymore, because
Yeah.
it's gone too far.
Mhm.
And back in the days, of course, I used to think I was a feminist, and it was everything about women can do just as good and just as bad, and we can be just as good as you. But now, actually, I see it differently. You have your roles, I have my role, and we don't ascribe to gender roles. It's just a fact of the matter is, as a people in marriage, you will have your strength, and I will have my strength, and it's about using your strengths to complement each other for the sake of the marriage.
Nice.
So feminism as a topic shouldn't come into a marriage as a discussion at all, because it should really be about what are the strengths that we both have that we can put on the table, so that often enough it would be that your strength is not the strength of the other person, so that you can borrow your strength to their weakness for the sake of your marriage, and vice versa. He can lend his strength to your weaknesses for the sake of your marriage, rather than the whole I can do just as bad as you, I can do just as good as you, I'm just as better than you, and all of that kind of power struggle, as I see it now, it's just unnecessary. Now it's
It's not necessary.
no place for it in marriage.
Before we actually read our next comment from one of our viewers and listeners here, by the way, shout out to Wimbai and Maxwell who tuned in. If you guys are tuned in, come through, let us know where you're listening from. But before I read like our other question from one of our viewers, let's talk about hold on. Let's talk about what's coming up in March. We have a couple of things coming up in March. First of all, we have this beautiful event that, about the marriage advocates. About celebrating new beginnings of thriving relationship. Mind sharing more about that?
It's just about right now in Canada, or would I say now better, based on the research, is 1 in 3 immigrants are ending up in divorce or domestic violence within the first 2 years, and when they come to Canada. So we're just trying to tell people, like, say, hey, let's celebrate a new beginning by coming to the workshop. Come and learn new skills. Come and know about the Marriage Advocates Canada. You're in a new country. Come and learn something new so that you can leave a lasting legacy for your children. So not to be going around in circles the way the parents did. You're doing the same thing. Come, let's celebrate and let's learn new skills in our relationships.
Absolutely. It's an opportunity to reach our community with the same message, but presented positively, with the idea that we can draw a line on all that has happened in the past, and we can start again. There is grace for a new beginning, and your relationship can thrive. So it's an opportunity to inspire our community, and it's an opportunity to celebrate the couples that have been through our workshops as well. So come and join us if you're in Calgary.
Yep.
And so where can they find the tickets, sharing more details on that? Or how is this one the RSVP event, or this is another one? This one's open to all.
Yeah, this ticket, if you go to www.themarriageadvocates.ca, you would see it there, and you go to events, you should see it there, and you can register from there. Yeah.
So you do need to let us know so we can cater appropriately. We want to make enough food, have enough drinks. It's going to be food, drinks, entertainment. It's going to be a celebration of the family. There will be a program for the kids. But it's important that we register so that we can, of course, meet the fire code.
Yes, and we're going to be having like a panel of discussion there, as well as the Calgary Police. And that's what Purpie. Is it Purpie?
Kathy, yeah, she's a yeah.
Kirby is a saxophonist from the Nigerian community, and
Yeah.
she is good.
Yep, she is good.
She is incredible.
Event, guys. So come through, and you can find the tickets on, like you can register on Eventbrite more than anything. And is this going to be? Does it have a cover, or is it a free
if there was a record of the most spoken sentence,
Yeah.
God's sake, it's the little things that count. Like,
I feel like every woman, though, it's those little things.
it's
that
just the little things that
Yeah.
count. Stop telling me you love me,
But-
show me.
Yeah, but when you love somebody, you gotta have to learn.
You learn
Because you
that.
learn to serve, because that when
Yeah.
you serve that person based on their love language,
Mm.
it makes you, because now I'm doing act of service, I'm thinking, okay, I'm scoring points. Ching ching, ching ching, ching ching. And
Good
as
as
a
one
guy,
point.
you get a reward at the end.
Yeah.
Ching ching, ching ching. Because that's it, that's all part and parcel. But
Right.
when you're not doing that, it's like you're saying, I don't love you. That's
Yeah.
because
I don't care.
I don't care. I don't love you. I don't have your time.
Mm.
So that's how you receive that love. Like,
Mhm.
oh, I don't have your time. So your spouse is feeling that way.
Mm.
So you're gonna have to give your spouse that love language the way they want to receive the love.
Absolutely. Oh, guys, so please do go through to their website for you to get Thriving Relationships. So you can go on www.thrivingrelationshipsnow.com so you can, get all the information, and also you get to see what they're all about, the events that are upcoming and all that fun stuff. But this is so exciting. I look forward to it. And also, something is baking in the oven. Do we want to talk about that? Or we can just
Oh, September. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh my Lord. Right. So we are I don't even know how our community is gonna like this, but we'll find out. We have a grant to put together a musical dinner theater. The idea is to communicate the message that we all need to work in our relationship and actually realize that there are a lot of things that we need to acknowledge from our past that is not working and is not working, especially when you move from the African nations or the Asian nations or whatever and move to this society that shines a light on all the messes that you've hidden under the carpet. This society will shine a light on that drama that you've chosen to not deal with. So we want to communicate the message of let's learn to have a healthy relationship, but we want to do it in the way we know best. I mean, our people, we love hearts, right? We love hearts, we love drama. We communicate best with storytelling. But we're going to dramatize our dysfunction a little bit.
just a little bit.
Just a little bit. We're going to dramatize our dysfunction just to shine the light on the things that we need to kind of be cognizant about and do something about.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll inspire one or two people to kind of take stock and realize that, okay, there are a lot of things that has happened that's impacting and affecting my relationship, but not just acknowledge that you've had these experiences that's creating messes, but do something about it. So we're hoping to use this kind of musical dinner theater as an opportunity to bring families together. So we're going to have the families together, having dinner together, enjoying music, and then there'll be theater for the parents, and the kids will do their own kind of arts.
Right.
Just a way to celebrate the families in our community, as well as hopefully inspire couples.
Right.
Go on a journey.
And we're definitely going to chill before that. We're going to chill again here before that, as we, give the whole heads up where to go, how and why. Because
Absolutely.
I am so excited to be a part of that project.
So good. It's going to be good.
So exciting. Everything is now kind of getting into place. And yes, guys, please do come out for all of these events. We already put it down here to say we're starting off with the celebrating of new beginnings of thriving relationships on March 9th at 4 to 6 p.m. And then we're also going to be having the book launch as well on the same day, but then it's starting shortly after the event that's going to be happening between 4 and 6:30 p.m. And this is going to be at 7 to 9 p.m. So is it going to be the same venue?
Yes.
It's going to be the same venue. So yes, no running away, guys. RSVP, so they know the account, which event you want to go, and
Yes.
so they can actually cater for you. And so before we go, okay, Maxwell has so many questions. Okay, Max. So the last two questions is like, I love it. This goes to Dr. Dami. After a man has accepted being vulnerable, how do women then draw the line between taking advantage of him and submission? Because also lately, the word submission is now being abused by men and being trashed by women.
Right. So, how does a woman accept the man who is being vulnerable? It comes from the woman really getting to a place of wholeness as well. Because if you see a man being vulnerable to you, if you a whole woman, a woman who's worked through and healed from our own messes and our own trauma, you're going to celebrate that. You're going to be able to welcome, embrace, and nurture that vulnerability, because you will be able to create a safe space for that man. But a woman who's still working through her own brokenness might not be able to nurture that vulnerability, because then she may interpret it in every different kind of dysfunctional way through the lens of our own trauma, right?
Yeah.
It's always perspective. What is the perspective with which she's filtering what she's receiving? So it's important that as women, we also do the healing work. We do the work to work through our traumas and our experiences that distorts the way we receive what our husbands are receiving, what are offering us. And the word submission, unfortunately, if we're talking in the kind of religious sense of it, has been abused. Of course, growing up, the way the word submission was used is in the context of the woman was supposed to submit and the man was supposed to dominate. And of course, young women today are not going to let no man dominate them. So then the women, like you said, are trashing the word submission. And the men back then, I hope the men right now are not still doing that. Come on. It's so 2024. Like, no.
Well,
Submission. Like, no. If you actually, those that are Christians should go read their Bible. It's supposed to be a mutual submission.
That's it. And
It's a mutual submission.
And I always say, because we also once had a topic on submission here, I always say, if you read the Bible, if you know your Bible very well,
Yourself.
instructed the man first, love your wife just as Christ loved the church.
I know, right?
A woman submits to love. A woman does not submit to abuse. A woman does not.
She shouldn't.
No.
She should not.
Right? So that on its own is because God created us the way He created us. He knew that if this person does this, this is going to be the outcome. And
It's so easy. I mean, like,
it's easy. You don't even need to say the word.
do you need to tell me to submit? Like, you're loving me so well.
So
You're
why
caring
should
for me. You're honoring me. I'm honoring you.
Yeah.
People need to ask me to submit because, oh man, love me. I'm a submit. I'm a submit it all. Like
That's what I always say. I always say I will even lick your feet, though I won't. But
look, you try to love me as Christ loved the church. I mean, he laid down his life.
yeah. It
You
is.
don't need to remind me about submitting. Like, you submit to the love you're being shown, the love you receive. It's out of that love that you submit. But of course, the church unfortunately didn't teach that right. So
Right. No, that is awesome. And thank you so much for that
thank you for
answer.
the question.
That's and last but not least, and then Max was like, "Oh my gosh, I wish I was that side, guys. Music did not turn down." Now enjoy on your behalf, my brother. He's actually based in South Africa. But thank you so much.
Cool.
Yeah, he's a musical artist, one other talented musical artist, and
Amazing.
to have
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Oh, he's always tuned in. We love that. And he's also a radio host, but based in SA. So just so you know, like a radio station, we have different DJs in different countries because of the time difference, time zones. So we're trying to cater to all Zimbabweans in the diaspora. So
Awesome.
yeah, it's quite exciting, but it's fun. We love it. But anyway, thank you so much, guys, for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
And an honor. I am so excited about everything that's coming up for you, and I am there for it. Like I am.
Thank you.
So one of it, we've actually shown it, and there's more that is going to come, and we look forward to it. So, how can people support you moving forward? Where can they follow you and all that fun stuff?
You can follow us on Instagram is @spam_ the marriage advocates, and YouTube the marriage advocates. You see that there. We're gonna use LinkedIn.
The Marriage
Advocates
Canada, right?
Yep, the Marriage Advocates Canada. Yep, on LinkedIn.
All of our social media profiles is on our website, so you can find that either on the nonprofit's website, which is www.themarriageadvocates.ca, or on our kind of private for the book Thriving Relationships Now.
Yeah.
So you can find us. You can find everything there.
You can find everything there, guys. And to everybody that was tuned in, thank you so much. And for those that took part, thank you so much for coming through. You already know we get to hang out with cool guests like, Mr. Ife and Dr. Dami today, who joined us and graced us with such wisdom. But there's more wisdom coming through if you're actually based in Alberta. Please do come through. Or even just based in Canada, you can fly over for this, guys. It's going to be really helpful and something that just, where you can tell other peers or your friends to say, you know what, this is a good initiative. We need to chime in. We also need to help however way we can. And please do go through to them. They're, outgoing people, you are very humble, trust me. But it's always easy to talk with humble people, and we really appreciate you guys. Thank you for coming through.
Thank you for having us. Thank you so much.
Let's not waste your time because it's late and you have kiddos. Let's not wake them up again. And have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.